Cars are a bad investment. Ask any financial advisor, finance bro, or even your parents, and they'll all tell you that cars go down in value.
Everything with a stinking motor in it, as much as I love it, goes down in value.
You're thinking about buying a car. Let me give you a new idea. Don't.
Not a good idea.
But that isn't necessarily always the case. Take my RX-7 for example. This is a car that has gone up in value in recent years. Honda S2000, Toyota Supra, Acura NSX, these are all cars that have gone up in value. So does that mean that owning these cars are a good way to make money? Well, I want to ask one of the biggest cheapskates that I know, Graham Stephan.
What's up, Gears? It's Graham here, and this is my 2005 Ford GT. My name is Graham Stephan. I make YouTube videos on personal finance. I invest on the side, and I love cars. The Ford GT for me was like a dream car when I was like 15 or 16 years old. For me, I love this car especially because I felt like the maintenance was low compared to like a Ferrari or Lamborghini. Didn't see a lot of people have them, and I like the fact that they went up in value. I bought the GT for about $300,000, and now I would guess it would be worth anywhere between $380 to maybe $400 grand. This car for a while was outpacing the S&P 500, which I thought was cool. Now it's about even with where it was, back then, but I don't care. Like for me, this was about diversifying my assets. And so I kind of think of it as a savings account where if I need the value, it's there. Maybe it goes up, but like the purpose is just to have cash sitting on the sidelines. But being able to enjoy a car like this is like a huge bonus for me.
From this example, we clearly see that cars can make you money. Graham bought his GT 2.5 years ago, and he's already seen a 30% return on his initial purchase. For a savings account or any kind of investment, that is very impressive. And that's not even mentioning Graham is virtually getting paid to own and drive his supercar. Some people pay thousands of dollars just to drive a car like this for a few laps. Now this all sounds too good to be true, and to take the rose-colored glasses off for a moment, owning an investment car like this will most likely come with some anxiety. Talking with Graham, it was apparent that while he loved his car, taking it out can be stressful. This is a big investment to actually expose to the road. With that being said, I had to at least ask if we could take the car out to shoot some rollers. Do you think you could, take the car out? Like, take some pictures of the mountains?
Where? Like how far?
Just up the road.
How many miles?
Like 9 miles or so, yeah.
Sure.
How much would that depreciate?
Sure. I try to keep the miles down, but if it makes for a better video, sure. My thing would always be like a small little scratch, not something enough to like where you get like a full paid out insurance claim, but like it's just like that little tiny thing where it's like, oh, well, there's 10 grand gone. So I think because of its value, I'm certainly more careful about it. Like I do watch the mileage, and I'm very careful when I take it out. Like sometimes I'll check in advance where I'm going, and I'm like, is the driveway okay? Okay. Good, I could show up there. So I do think it takes some of the enjoyment out simply because like in the back of my mind, even driving it around, it's like, is there someone gonna crash into me? What is this person doing? But I feel like that's outweighed by everything else with the car. One thing I did for driveways, by the way, speaking of that, is that the driveway going into my house has a bit of a curb, and going in at the right angle has been so difficult. I've scraped it before, so I got these cool ramps. The owner is so nice. He sent me those ramps, and I've been using them nonstop, and now I drive like straight in. Doesn't scrape, so I'd highly recommend.
Clearly, owning an investment car can come with some stress. If Graham scrapes his GT on the driveway, it's potentially a dip in his earnings. But this tension isn't exclusive to cars. Any investment you make is going to come with uncertainty and risk. So how do cars compare to some more traditional investments?
If it's between, holding cash or holding a car, the car might do better only because if it goes up in value, but then again, selling it could be a bit of a challenge whereas cash is available immediately. Cars, when compared to probably stocks, real estate, plenty of even treasuries, probably worse. Because then you also have to account for what's the cost of registration, maintenance, car washes, gasoline, there's a whole bunch of other things, insurance. I think it's not much on this car. I think it's about $1,200 a year. but they really limit the miles. Like I never drive it, so that's why it's so cheap. But still, it's $100 a month. So this car has to go up in value $100 a month just to break even on insurance, not including gasoline or anything else. They're bad investments compared to proper investments, but it's a good investment if you like cars and you enjoy the cars. You can drive them for free. Does it?
No, 91.
Does it? This one?
No.
Or diesel? No. I'm f***ing with you. Okay, dude, that'd be so funny.
How many miles realistically have you driven this car?
I bought it at 74, so 400 miles, give or take, in 2 years. I guess it's probably been a year since I filled it up.
If you've watched the video this far, by now you probably want to know more about Graham's 4GT, or maybe you want to know more about 4GTs in general. Let's have Graham talk a little bit more about the car and what it's like to own it.
So this is the 2005 4GT, V8 engine, 550 horsepower. It's pretty unique though, because on this side, to open the gas cap, I'm sure you've all seen Doug DeMuro. You stick the key in here really carefully, and by the way, I've gotten close to scratching around it. Turn the key, do this, and the gas cap opens up. And then on the other side, there's an identical one of these that opens up this. Now this, you would think might have some storage space or whatever, but not really. But again, you do the same thing here. So they made it look as symmetrical as possible. And you have a little bit of storage space down there, which I have like some spare gear and whatnot, and then the washer fluids. So there's really no storage in the car at all. And then you have the Ford 100 in here. In the headlights, so I don't know. I think that's kind of cool. It's 100 on this side, reversed on the other side. Got a bit of a plastic splitter underneath here that I've unfortunately scraped sometimes. On the back though, everything's pretty much standard. This is completely stock. The one thing I'd love to do on the car at some point maybe is just like do a better exhaust on it, because the V8 engine I think sounds so good, but part of me just wants to keep the car 100% stock, and like that's where I think the beauty is and the value is of the car. It's just like bone stock car. I'm not gonna modify it. There's no window tints on the car. I think it's kind of perfect as is. So I would say one of the coolest parts and most annoying part of the car is the door. So you'll see with this door, part of the roof comes with it, which at first it takes a lot of getting used to, because what I've done is you get in the car, or you're getting out of the car actually, and you open up the door like this, like a normal car, right? And then you wanna get up, but what you end up doing is just slamming your head on the top here. So I've learned over time, just you have to extend the door all the way out and kind of like be careful. Or what's kind of neat is that you're able to sit like straight up and not have to worry about your head hitting the roof. But it does take some getting used to. The same thing also when you park next to other cars in a parking lot. You have to be really careful to give yourself enough space, because otherwise, let's say if a car is parked here like a normal distance, your door would only open up to here, and then you have to find a way to crawl in like this. So another point I want to mention on the car that's a bit difficult is that seeing out of the rear view mirror is nearly impossible. Just like it's terrible visibility because you have the engine back there. So what I did, I found this like $80 camera on Amazon, and it's like this wireless camera that you can see out the back. So I installed this on the license plate, and then I plugged it into the front here. And so every time I'm backing up or I'm trying to get in a tight space, I just click that on, back up into a spot, and then I rely on this to see out the back, because otherwise it's pretty much impossible.
Looking at Graham's 4GT, realistically, most of us can't afford a car like this. You might be thinking, sure, it's easy to make money if you could just pay cash for a supercar and then put no miles on it. Fortunately, investment cars don't have to be quite this expensive. Graham's first two investment cars were much more budget friendly.
The other two cars that I've had prior to this, one was a 2006 Lotus Elise. I paid 30 grand for it, and I sold it 2 years later with 12,000 more miles on it for 30 grand. So I broke even on the car, but the experiences I got with that were incredible. And then I bought a 2008 Lotus Exige S240, and I drove that car also for 2 years. I bought it for 50, and I sold it 2 years later for 50. So for me, that was like my foray into cars, and just seeing how you could drive them for free and not spend or lose any money.
Graham was able to regularly drive a Lotus for 2 years at basically no cost. And he also shared several other cars that he thought would be solid investments. If any of these are on your wish list, it might not be a bad idea to buy them.
If I had an unlimited garage, I think the BMW Z8, I think is fantastic. The Z1, which is very rare and unique, I think that could be pretty good. A 96, 97 Viper GTS, I think are fantastic cars. The original Acura NSX, I think are fantastic. The Honda S2000 is one of my favorites. The SLS AMG, that's a car that I've had my eye on for a long time. Cars that have a very collectible value, where there's a community built around the rarity of the car, kind of helps. You also have to have the patience and not overpay.
As a car enthusiast, or anyone willing to do the research, driving your car for free can be reality. But just like any investment, there are no guarantees, especially with an unpredictable car market. No matter how certain you are, one of the most important principles is to simply stay within your means.
If you're taking a gamble that the value might go up, you have to make sure you could afford to lose on that gamble. You should not gamble with money that you cannot afford to lose on cars. If we hit a mega recession, wealthy people are probably dumping the cars first before they do real estate or stocks.
Cars are definitely a more risky and volatile method of investing, but it can be investing. Obviously, most cars don't go up in value, but Graham has definitely proven that you can make money off of them. When the day comes for Graham to sell his GT, he's probably going to make close to $100,000 off of it. Before we left Graham, he told us one of the best ways to build wealth.
One of the best ways that you can build wealth, without exaggeration, is to hit the like button for the YouTube algorithm. Helps out tremendously. Also, subscribing, because that's free. It doesn't cost you a single thing.
Buying cars is not a get-rich-quick scheme, and it's not the most dependable investment. Talking with Graham, he shared that all of his cars make up just a fraction of his overall net worth, and that regardless if his Ford GT goes up or down in value, he'll be happy that he was able to own his dream car. With that being said, can cars really make you money?
Cars can make you money, but unfortunately it usually comes with a large caveat. In this case, I would say that most cars that make you money are more expensive. And also there's a big risk in buying a car because you don't necessarily know which car is going to go up in value or down in value. And a majority of cars will go down in value. And just like playing with single stocks or cryptocurrencies, you're probably gonna lose. But you can still use this as justification for buying your favorite car.